Man, where Greg at?
Hey everybody, this is Greg and this is Dunk Down Sports. Since 2002 national championship loss, my beloved Canes has not been a very good team. And during that time, we done ran through some coaches. So I came up with the worst top 5 coaches to ever coach at the University of Miami football program. But before we get into the video, please take the time to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Now let's get into it.
It really hurts me to do this, because I don't think he was given a fair chance to do his job. I know a lot of people have him high on their list, but there's a couple of reasons Manny will not go higher than 5 on mine. 1, as I stated earlier, he didn't really get a chance to do his job. If he would have got the financial backing from the administration that the current coach has now, Manny would have been a better coach. Period. He boasts the highest winning percentage in in-conference play than all the other coaches on this list at 56%. Plus, he brought swag back to the U when we really needed it by the invention of the turnover change, which, by the way, was a trendsetter. All teams started breaking out whatever they had after their defense made a big play. Hell, even Florida State broke out. The backpack? Now let's get into the reasons Manny Diaz made this list. Manny had some bad losses as a coach at the University of Miami. He had 2 consecutive losses to Duke, yes, the basketball school, and lost to a broken Florida State team, which would be his last game he would coach. But the loss that had the AD Blake James thinking, I just fucked up, and Miami fans saying his job might be too big for this guy, was the terrible FIU loss in his first year. Make me want to vomit every time I discuss it. It gets worse. Manny was also 2-5 coming off of bye weeks. Oof. In bowl games, he was 0-2. As a matter of fact, Miami was the only team to get shut out in a bowl game in 2019. Manny also couldn't recruit worth a damn. He never had a top 10 recruiting class during his time there. During his time, he averaged a 20th recruiting class. Was that a bunch of 3-stars and a 4-star here and a 4-star there? Any other school would be great, but not at the U. Let's get it straight. Larry Coker is the winningest coach on this list. Coker had a perfect record going 24-0 before that bullshit call at the 2003 Fiesta Bowl. But something happened. Butch Davis recruits started graduating or leaving for the NFL, and it was up to Coker to bring in his own recruits and coach them up. Now, recruiting talent wasn't the problem with Larry Coker. He recruited Devin Hester, Greg Olson, Calais Campbell, and he had Shady McCoy committed to the U. Now, developing talent, that was his Achilles tendon. Out of the 6 years he was there, he had 5 top 10 recruiting class. Yes, 5. He never won another national championship, never won an ACC title, and got smacked around in the Peach Bowl 40-3 by LSU. People began to question if Coker had control of his team, and on the night of October 14, 2006, everyone's questions got answered. That Hurricane locker room was so toxic, Brian Patter was murdered by a teammate, allegedly. He got fired from Miami with a 60-15 record, 34-11 in conference play, and 14-10 in the ACC. Larry Coker pretty much walked this program to the cliff, and by not building on top of the sturdy foundation Butch Davis built, he found himself on this list. Why is he on the list? Let me explain. But before I do, let me give credit where credit is due. He did make FIU matter for a hot second, and I also think he was unfairly fired. He is a good, not great, but good recruiter. Great recruiters doesn't lose the number 9 prospect in the country that is from the city that you'll be coaching in. But he can recruit. Under Mario's tenure as head coach, he has had recruiting classes of 6th, 7th, 12th, and 13th at Oregon. But just like Larry Coker, he has development issues when it comes to talent. This past season, if you would have been keeping up with Oregon, you watched a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits get manhandled and at times look lost to much weaker opponents. You watch Oregon blow a lead with Stanford. Put a pin in that. We'll get back to that game in a minute. You watch them barely beat a Fresno State team who is nowhere as near as talented as them. And that Utah team is Cristobal's daddy.
You're not my dad!
Another red flag on Cristobal is that he is an underachiever. Let's all be honest. Most of America seen Herbert play and knew he was an NFL quarterback. Mario had Justin Herbert for 3 years and only wins a Rose Bowl. That's it. That's all. And his mismanagement of time at the end of games are damning. I can give you several, but the one that really sticks out is the Stanford game. Now let's unpin that. Now if you haven't seen it, Cristobal had a 7-point lead with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the game in opponent's territory, and it was a first down. He thrown where he should have ran and vice versa. And Stanford had a game-tying 87-yard drive with less than 2 minutes to go. And honestly, for me, what turned me off from Mario is being coached by the guy who invented swag at the U and decides to remove the swaggiest thing we had in the turnover chain. He is an unproven coach, and with the talent at Miami, there won't be many excuses to make for him. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When the U hired Al Golden, I was like, who the fuck is that? Then I heard the press conference of all press conferences.
My job as the head coach of the University of Miami is to love and respect you, make you the best student athlete you can be, and win championships. That's my job. That's my job.
Man, every time I hear that, I want to run through a wall for that guy. He wanted to bring the Miami of old so bad, he went out as much as hired back Art Kehoe. Golden had some big wins beating a team as high as Florida at number 7 and beating a number 17 Ohio State team. But he had some spectacular losses. It got so bad that there was multiple banners flying over Miami demanding his firing. Golden wasn't much of a recruiter either. Believe it or not, by the numbers, he is the exact same recruiter Manny was. He also averaged the 20th ranking class during his stay in Miami. Golden finished his coaching career at Miami with a 35-25 record, 17-18 in ACC play, a game under 500. He was 3-11 against teams in the AP Top 25 and lost 14 games by double digits. And the biggest no-no of them all, he didn't beat Florida State. Not once. He was 0-5 against them. He also never won a bowl game, going 0-2, another Manny Diaz trait. But the pink slip was the worst loss in program history. The 58-0 blowout against Clemson. At home. In that game, the defense gave up 416 yards on 63 carries. You heard right, 63. Average 6.6 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns and runs of 59 and 63. 7 running backs in that game had double-digit in yards. That entire year, the defense on average per game gave up 201 rushing yards, 5.3 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. The defense couldn't stop a headache with an Advil. But Golden seen this coming, and he wouldn't do anything about it. Why? Because of his loyalty to his good friend Mark D'Onofrio. Now don't get me wrong, I appreciate loyalty, but loyalty to a fault is problematic. He chose his friend over his job, and in return he embarrassed the program, he embarrassed the city, most of all, he embarrassed himself. Now this guy was hands down the worst coach to ever walk the sidelines at the University of Miami. Remember when I said Coca took Miami to the edge of the cliff? Well, Shannon dropped a grenade to the program and drop-kicked us over the ledge. There were times where I would watch a game and ask myself, what the fuck was that? Upon being hired as the head coach at the U, Shannon's first order of business was to remove the names off the back of the jerseys. Really, bro? Well, let's see how that worked out for you. Randy went 5-6 in his first year, losing the last 6 out of 7 games, making the U failing to qualify to a bowl game in over a decade. It was the first time in 25 years that the Canes missed a bowl game while having all of their scholarships. Let's not forget, he closed out the Orange Bowl that year by being shut out 48-0 to Virginia. Not Virginia Tech, Virginia. Do you know Virginia fans still hang that over our heads till this day? But Shannon had the chance to establish himself as the coach that would bring back championships to Miami by recruiting the #1 class in 2008 and including 7 players from the historic Miami Northwestern Bulls football team. Now mind you, he already had 2006 Mr. Football Robert Marv on the team. But Randy Shannon failed to coach up all that talent. No coach gets the #1 recruiting class in the nation and goes 4-9 versus ranked opponents, 0-2 in bowl games, loses by 28 to an in-state rival, and have a walk-on freshman engineer come back against his team during his tenure as head coach. I can promise you, there will never be a coach incompetent as long as you live. I could go on and on about Randy Shannon, but a wise man told me if you don't got nothing good to say about someone, don't say it. Oops. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you got a top 5 that differ from mine, please leave it in the comment section. And be sure to join me during our live broadcast. Go Canes!